The main intelligence directorate said that on September 10, its special forces tracked down and successfully struck an expensive Russian Black Sea Fleet ship near Novorossiysk. The masters of the HUR of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine delivered a well-aimed strike with a Ukrainian-made combat drone in the area of the control bridge, where, in particular, the ship's navigation and communication equipment is located. As a result of the strike, the RER equipment of the enemy ship was destroyed, and the ship was put out of action for expensive repairs, HUR said. It is noted that at the time of the attack, the enemy ship was conducting electronic reconnaissance and patrolling the approaches to the Novorossiysk Bay, where the Russians have currently registered the remnants of their Black Sea Fleet. The ship was impressed by the MPSV-07 multipurpose vessel project, which the Russians put into operation in 2015. It costs about $60 million. In total, Russia has 4 such vessels. The MPSV-07 project ship is equipped with diving complexes, remote-controlled devices, side-scan sonar, and PR means. It can be used for bottom surveying. The ship's power is about 4 megawatts.
A week and a half after the statement by the Chief of the General Staff, Valery Gerasimov, about the capture of half of Kupiansk, no evidence of the capture of the city center has appeared. However, the Russian Ministry of Defense tried to back up the words with a bloody PR campaign. The Russian independent publication We Can Explain writes about this. A few days before his 70th birthday, Gerasimov reported that Russian troops had almost completely surrounded Kupiansk and taken control of about half of the territory. However, the situation on the ground contradicts his words. Russian units hold only a few settlements north of the city and continue to fight on the outskirts. To demonstrate the imaginary success, the Ministry of Defense released a video with Russian flags on the streets of Kupiansk. The footage shows how soldiers, having installed the tricolor and shown it to the drone camera, immediately run away. Later, the Armed Forces of Ukraine released their own video of the strike on these groups. Ukrainian military reported that some Russian fighters changed into civilian clothes for the sake of the performance. Military analyst Yan Matveyev believes that this was pure imitation. According to him, Russian units could not rush to storm Kupiansk immediately after Gerasimov's statement, but it was necessary to save the general's reputation, and the command chose this method. Even Russian ZWAR correspondents questioned the official version. They wrote, "I listened to Gerasimov and do not understand who is so clumsily setting up the chief of the general staff." As a result, this information goes to the top, and this is a very serious exaggeration. Other propagandists noted that Kupiansk is already tired of being liberated, like Belogorovka, which is taken 10 times a year. The founder of the CIT project, Ruslan Leviev, adds that such statements turn into a tragedy for the Russian military themselves. When soldiers hear that the city has allegedly been taken, and this is a lie, they understand that they will soon be thrown into the attack in order to fit the reality to the reports. This leads to new losses and senseless assaults. During the liquidation of the narrow Russian penetration near Dobropilyaby, our defense forces, several brigades of the Russian army, may be encircled at once. This was stated by military expert Mikhail Zyrokov on the air of Radio NV. At the same time, according to him, the Russians are continuing this tactic and have organized 3 more guts on the front line in Dnepropetrovsk region. The situation near Dobropilya is clear. The Russians were unable to cope with the cover of this gut that they pulled out to the Dobropilya area, and now they are getting it in the neck after the General Staff transferred the most combat-ready units here. The Dobropolye gut, it will be eliminated in the near future if the situation does not change dramatically. Several brigades may even end up in a cauldron there. they will have no chance, Zyrkov commented. However, he added that this may not happen if the situation changes and, for example, the General Staff is not forced to transfer the Azov Corps to another direction. In a month of active hostilities near Dobropilya, Donetsk region, Ukrainian units from the Azov Corps of the National Guard of Ukraine and adjacent formations captured 69 Russian infantrymen. According to official statements, the active actions of Ukrainian forces allow them to hold positions, deter the enemy's advance, and stabilize the situation on the front. The captured Russian servicemen expressed gratitude to the defenders for preserving their lives and pledged to abide by the Geneva Conventions during detention. The Russian armed forces attack failed. The defense forces stabilized the situation, and these soldiers were just lucky to survive. They were taken prisoner by soldiers of the 4th Operational Brigade of the National Guard of Ukraine, Rubies, and the 82nd Separate Air Assault Bukovina Brigade, 1st Corps of the National Guard of Ukraine, Azov. The total number of prisoners for the month stands at 69 occupiers. It is also noted that as of September the 5th, more than 2,400 Russian military personnel have been destroyed since the breakthrough near Dobropilya. In August, deep state analysts noted a significant turning point in the movement of Russian formations north of Dobropilya, between Dobropilya and Druskivka, pointing to gaps in Ukrainian defense and the enemy's attempts to quickly consolidate. On August the 12th, the 1st Corps of the National Guard of Ukraine, Azov, reported the occupation of a defensive strip on the Pokrovsky direction and intensified measures to block the enemy. According to the press center of the Defense Forces of Ukraine, several Russian infantrymen breached the first line, but were destroyed by reserves of the defense forces. This is absolutely not how it looks on the map. It's not that they took control of the entire route they had traveled. No, they traveled along the route and tried to hide somewhere in a basement. But of course, reserves from Ukrainian forces then rushed there to drive them out of that basement and destroy them, said spokesperson for the OSUV Dnipro on August the 21st. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine reported the clearance of 6 settlements on the Pokrovsky direction. As of September the 8th, Ukrainian forces liberated about 25.5 square kilometers of territory near Dobropilya, while the occupiers retained control over approximately 13.5 square kilometers. Expert assessments emphasize the dynamic and exhausting situation on the front. Ukrainian formations continue defense and counter-offensive actions aimed at reducing enemy activity and preserving the lives of their military personnel.